Perfect. Okay, so good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to share my elective experience to the members of the Rotary Club of Toowong. My name is Jenny Hambi Kim. I'm currently a second-year medical student at the University of Queensland. I'm originally from Seoul, South Korea, but I've been living in Vancouver, Canada for the past 18 years, so I'm actually Canadian. And I moved to sunny Brisbane last year to pursue my medical degree here in Australia. Just to describe myself a little bit more, my lifelong goal is to experience as many different environments, cultures, and situations as much as I can. And so I love to challenge myself, I love to visit rural areas, and I love learning new skills and languages. And often, because of this goal, I find myself in situations where I'm risking my life. But so far, I've come out of them in one piece, and I'm hoping that it remains that way in the future as well. So before I go on ahead with my elective summary, I would like to thank the Rotary Club of Toowong for this grant. Without this grant, I would not have been able to pursue this placement, so I'm grateful and honored to be a recipient of this award. So my elective placement took place in Solomon Islands in a rural town called Gizo, and it's 400 kilometers northwest of the capital, Honiara. So here's the capital, and here's where I did my placement. Just a little bit about Solomon Islands. It was first visited by the Spanish. They were the first Europeans to visit the islands, but it was actually the British who first declared the islands as British protectorate, and they gained self-government in the 1970s. Solomon Islands is also well known for headhunting and cannibalism in the past. And it was also a site of fierce battles during the World War II, during which the Australians defended the Australian Sea. And some of the really well-known battles include the Battle of Guadalcanal, and the Kokoda trap battle in the nearby Papua New Guinea. And so to get to Gizo from Honiara, you can either take a plane or a ferry. And by a ferry, I mean an old Japanese cargo ship, like the one you see at the top left here, that was donated by the Japanese government. Normally, it takes an hour by plane to get to Gizo from the capital city. By ferry, it takes 27 hours. And because most locals travel by ferry, I thought it's a great idea to follow their method, and it was also the cheaper option. But my elective took place during the Christmas and New Year season, so the ferry was packed with locals heading back to their homes, and I had to board the ship as soon as it arrived, just so I can save a spot, so I can sit for the 27-hour journey. And so I boarded the ship 6 hours before departure, and all in all, I spent 33 hours on this boat, and I did manage to get a spot on this pile of luggage right here on the bottom right-hand corner. And this was actually pretty lucky because some of the people had to stand for the whole journey because there wasn't even enough space for them to sit. So after 33 interesting hours, I arrived in Gizo at 1 a.m. on Monday night, just a few hours short away from my first hospital day. So with a town population of 8,000 people, the hospital that I went to, Gizo Hospital, is the second largest hospital in the country, and it is also the main referral hospital for all the islands in the Western Province. So it actually caters up to 80,000 people a year. The hospital has 3 doctors, many nurses though, and about 50 beds. So due to this limited medical staff and limited resources, the hospital only provides general female, male, pediatric ward services. There's an emergency department, outpatients clinic, and they also do minor surgeries. Any major surgery that requires general anesthesia, amputations, or fixing broken bones, they're all sent to the main hospital in Honiara for the major surgeries. So Solomon Island is exposed to frequent natural disasters and tropical weather. It has lush forests, it has heavy rainfalls, which creates stagnant water sources, which is perfect breeding ground for mosquitoes. They also have a culture of chewing betel nut, which is not good for your dental hygiene. They have a culture that doesn't really promote exercising. And they have a diet that's that consists of highly starchy food like cassava, potato, whatnot. So common presentations at the hospital included hypertension, diabetes, which they call sugar in their pidgin language, flu, gastritis, a lot of pediatric malnutrition and dehydration, and dental diseases due to tree beetle nut. And so my average day at the hospital would include heading up for ward rounds with the doctor or assisting in minor surgeries. And often this would take the whole morning because it's usually done by one doctor. And in the afternoon, I would help out in the emergency department or outpatients clinic, taking patient history, taking blood samples, or helping in the lab. Often I would get calls from the emergency doctor at night to come and help out with the severe emergency cases because there was only one doctor and she was only assisted by nurses. And I remember on Christmas Day, I was having dinner with the emergency doctor and a few expats, and we received an urgent call from the hospital, and we had to rush down to attend to a really sick patient. Luckily, the patient survived, but it's definitely a Christmas that I'll always remember from now on. So here's a picture on the left-hand side of the patients admitted to the emergency department waiting to see a doctor. And on the right-hand side, the operation room nurses are preparing for a tubal ligation surgery, which is a surgery to prevent females from getting pregnant by clamping the fallopian tubes. Before I share how delighted the hospital staff were when they received the medical supplies, I just want to share what the conditions are like at the hospital. So you can kind of guess how much the hospital lack in resources when they already lack in these basic supplies. So on the top left corner, that's a patient file book. They didn't have enough notebooks that they had to use the cover of medication boxes, and they would wrap it around a few pages and use that as patient files. On the bottom left is a room divider that the hospital finally received from the government, and I was shocked to find out that they actually placed this order 2 years ago. In the middle is a pillow that's being used in the emergency department, not very clean. And on the right-hand side is actually my hand. And this was a challenge for me and the medical staff there because we really had to carefully and resourcefully use the limited supply of gloves. So we actually have them when we really needed them. So this was a real big challenge. So when they received the boxes of medical supplies just in time for Christmas, they were really happy and they were surprised because actually they didn't know that they were going to receive these. So some of the equipment that I was able to bring through this grant and other organizations included a professional blood pressure monitor on the right-hand side, which the hospital didn't even